Good morning, class. Hope you all had a good weekend and are ready for week 2 of CED 602. This is an overview of the week. And so, just to give you a little update on week 1, I did see that all of you did the quiz, which you did very well. I also saw that you all did the discussion boards, which I was able to grade. I was grading yesterday and finished grading this morning, so your grades should be updated for your discussion board, which was due last night on Sunday. And so for week 2, this is where we really hit the road and hit the ground running with the assignments for this class. So for week 2, we want to take a look at the learning outcomes, okay? And here you want to just understand that we're going to be really looking at topics that will include the family system, will include separation, divorce, abuse, homelessness, pregnancy, poverty, AIDS, eating disorders, obesity, substance abuse, and depression. So these are some of the topics that we're going to be learning about this week. You do have your reading, so for this week you are responsible for chapters 4 through 6. And these are the PowerPoints that go along with each of the chapters. So please go ahead and make sure you're reading those. And this is the content for week 2. Okay, there's a couple of web pages here that we've collected, and I think it's important to look over and reference, especially if when you're looking at your group projects. These web pages here come in handy to look at any national statistics or local or state statistics to support your school counseling crisis plan, which I'm going to go over in detail today. There's a little video here that I want you to look at 6 minutes. So take a look at that. And then you'll have your discussion board, okay? And so here you'll be talking about societal changes affecting the families. So take a look at that discussion board and craft your post, and make sure that you respond to 2 students, okay? And obviously the due date will be by this upcoming Sunday by midnight. All right. So the 2 big assignments, okay, that are coming up, and I really want you to start working on these. I'm going to discuss the first one, which is an individual assignment, and this is your social concern video. Here, each candidate will develop a video of themselves facilitating a 10-minute segment of a class on a social issue regarding a school, okay? So here, the goal is to pretty much come up with a topic, okay, and record yourself for 10 minutes discussing and addressing that social issue and whatever level that you want to discuss that social issue in. So each candidate will videotape themselves for 10 minutes. You will then facilitate, as a counselor, a discussion or present material to an audience, such as students in a class, for teachers, administrators, district administrators, parents. So here, you're going to select a topic and you're going to decide who your audience will be. Whether it's going to be students, teachers, administrators, local political members, parents, counselors, whatever you want. And you will then, select the grade level if you're working with students and create a presentation on that topic, okay? And so here you would need to begin with an outline of your presentation and make sure that you have a setup, your video set up. If you're recording with, you could record with your phone. I mean, phones have great cameras nowadays. Someone could record, and as you're, being recorded, you could present your issue, social issue. And so here the recommendation is that you do practice before you actually record. Practice and make sure that, you are speaking well, and that you are also, keeping in mind that it is a 10-minute segment, okay? Sorry, let me mute my phone. Okay, so that is pretty much the summary of this assignment. And so as a guide, this is a template I want you to follow. I look at it as these are your PowerPoint slides. So I do, want you to describe the magnitude of the problem. So if you're talking about substance use or abuse, give me some national and state data to show the need of an intervention. So if you're looking at substance abuse at the freshman level in a high school, I want you to present data on that. Why is there a need to intervene at that ninth grade level? And number two, behavioral characteristics of the problem. So give me a full description of the problem. Like what are you seeing at the freshman level that's impacting students' academic, personal, social success? And what are the developmental differences related to the issues? So how does substance use affect freshmen versus affect freshmen in a certain way versus seniors or adults in college, or so give me some developmental differences related to the issue. And then this is the big one, interventions. So what are some of the interventions and strategies that you will use to address the problem? These could be counselor-specific interventions, and also, and what students can do to also help and be part of the solution. So, you could have counselor-specific interventions, you could have student-led interventions, and interventions, I do want you to have interventions that are actually, research-based. So make sure that you're not just, coming up with an intervention that you just feel that might be able to work. Make sure you back it up with some proven interventions that have worked and strategies based on research. And then number 4, you will then provide a conclusion and recommendations for further action to your audience, okay? And some of these recommendations could be if you're talking to parents and you want to get them involved with assisting the school with substance use and substance abuse. How can, what are some of the recommendations you can make to your audience, which will be the parents? And then the last slide, I do want you to use 4 sources. These have to be scholarly sources. So when I say scholarly sources, that includes the internet. So you can use the internet. So here, you could do a minimum, you have to do a minimum of 2 research articles, okay? And then the other 2 could be from an internet source or web source, all right? And so you should use APA style to list your references. So this is what I look at. I mean, this is if I were doing this project, I would do a 5 slide presentation on an issue, and then I would just record. I would have someone record me presenting this to an audience. Now, given COVID, I know that having a real audience is not feasible. So this here would not be required. You want to pretend that you're talking to an audience, okay? So I know that given COVID, we're restricted with having people over and friends and all that. So I'm not requiring you to have an audience. All I'm requiring you is to videotape yourselves, come up with a presentation on a social issue that affects schools, and identify who your audience will be. Okay, whether that be students, district administration, school administration, whoever you would like. Okay, and this is an individual assignment. It is 10 minutes, so please make sure you're mindful of the time and practice before you record yourself. Okay. And that is that. And here's some topics that you could choose from if you were looking at that. And this is due week 3 by midnight. Okay. Okay. So now that was for your individual assignment, which is due week 3 by midnight. Now going back to your group project, which this one will be due week 4. Okay. And just to clarify, we will be meeting that I believe we said June 26th at 6 p.m. for our group presentations. So let me check my calendar. On I'm sorry, that's June 23rd. Sorry, June 23rd at 6 p.m. We'll be meeting to have you present your school crisis plan. I have already emailed you your groups, so please be sure to start emailing each other, exchange information, maybe develop a group chat where you all could text message together if that's something that's feasible for your group, and start developing a strategy to your school crisis plan. So for example, what is it that you will want to talk about? Here you want to develop a school crisis plan for a potential crisis that may arise at a school. And when we look at the school crisis plan template, which is right here, I'm going to go ahead and open this. So when we look at this template here, these are suggested crises that may arise. We always want to hope and pray that it never happens at our site, but that's wishful thinking, and we've got to be prepared for anything that may come up at our campuses. So one of them, a suggested crisis could be a school shooting, active shooter, a bomb threat, potential gang violence, act of terror, maybe at the national, statewide, locally institution, student ethnic group or bullying, mass suicide, student death or unexpected death, student ethnic group bullying or targeting. So specifically, that one is specifically right now, given the times and everything that's going on. What plan do we have if any of these events would happen? And again, we always want to make sure, we always want to say that it's not going to happen, but we see it happen time and time. So as a group, you want to start formulating a crisis. Like, what crisis do you want to focus on? Okay. And so, that should be the goal for this week, as in your group project and your group, you want to develop a crisis. What is your group interested in? Are you interested in developing a plan for addressing school shootings or mass suicide or gang violence? Again, the better job you do with this assignment, this is an assignment that you could actually use in a job interview. Providing a counseling crisis plan to the interviewers that are interviewing you. We love to see that, because that gives us perspective and gives us different ideas that students are coming out of programs with. And so I really want you all to do a good job with this plan, because this is something that you could showcase in your portfolio and definitely showcase in a potential interview. So the goal for this week is to come up with some ideas of what crises you want to address. I will say focus on one and develop and do a good job of planning for that crisis. Okay? And these are just some examples. They don't have to be these. So now, the presentation should address all of these points. So you should identify the crisis and the grade level or levels that you will be addressing. So if it's high school, I want you to identify the crisis and tell me what level you're addressing. So if it's all of high school, then that's fine. If it's middle school or elementary, that's fine. I want you to state the purpose of the crisis plan. So include data in this section. Okay? And so include data on the frequency of this crisis and why it may occur in your school. Okay? Then I want you to identify all of the school members that would be part of the plan. So these would be principals, APs, counselors, nurses, you name it. So who are the members that will be part of your school crisis plan? And then the immediate plan. What are you to do in the event of the crisis? So what will be your plan? So here you want to discuss in case of a crisis, what will be the protocols, procedures? So who will be called? Example, if it's a school shooting, what will be the protocol to evacuate? What will be the protocol to notify parents? What will be the protocol to notify authorities? So definitely, the immediate plan is a big part of this assignment. And then after the short-term follow-up, so 1 to 2 days after the crisis, what follow-up will you do? And then the long-term follow-up, 1 to 6 months after the crisis, what, as counselors, what will we do? Okay. And then if it is something that you could create, I mean, you don't have to, but I recommend that there's a crisis checklist that you could create. And again, this could all be made up. It's fine. You could go online and look at some checklists that are already online. That's fine with me. But include a crisis checklist. In a crisis, we do have to have someone checking off. Okay, we did X, we did Y, these are all of the things that we checked off. So based on your crisis, create a checklist, a crisis checklist. And again, you could create one on your own, or you could look some up that are already online and just, take it and modify it to your own assignment here. Okay. And so, I mean, also here, I mean, which sites on campus can be used as communication rooms? So in the event of a crisis, like what are some rooms that we could use as communication rooms for authorities, for administration, counselors, mental health professionals, right? So identify some of these areas in a school that you could use as like your command centers, okay? And so also for the next point, if applicable, create a map of an evacuation route. So again, you could create one from scratch, or you could just print out a map from a school. All schools have maps, and then just highlight the evacuation route. And again, this could all be made up, or you could actually select a school and actually get their map and let us know where the evacuation routes will be in case of a crisis. Okay. And also, if applicable, create an emergency kit. So what emergency kits would you like to have as part of your plan? So I know that when I used to work at a high school, we had a red backpack. And that red backpack was given to each of the counselors. And we had a flashlight. We had a little plastic lanyard with all the emergency contacts in the city, in the district, and also in our school. We had the number to our school police, and we had waters. So that was our emergency kit in case of a crisis. So what will your emergency kit consist of? Okay. And for the presentation, I do want a PowerPoint to be presented to the class. So again, try to make it as easy as possible for you. Each of these bullet points would be a slide. Okay? Just keep it simple, guys. Each of these bullet points would be a slide. Okay? So the easiest format for me is PowerPoint. You could email it to me and I could upload it. Once you're ready to present, we'll go ahead and present it, and you will be able to have it on the collaborative live session so others can see. So again, for this week, please start developing or coming up with a crisis that you would like to address as a group. And then also start dividing the workload. So you will have a PowerPoint, and then you will also submit a paper. So the paper will have these sections on it, okay? And so make sure that you're dividing the work evenly. There is no page limit on the paper. So just make sure that if you're dividing the work evenly, and that each of you are working on part of the plan, okay? The best tool for me to collaborate with students is through Google Docs. So I like Google Docs because you're able to work on it all together at the same time. So, I would definitely encourage students to use Google Docs so that way you could all work on the paper and also the class PowerPoint presentation. So that's the most easiest tool for me. But again, you could work however you like. But in summary, you are turning in a PowerPoint presentation for the group and also a paper. Okay, so that would be the crisis plan, and then the last thing here is forms to include. Obviously, your plan, you want to include some forms. So here, some of the forms that you may want to create is a roster. Just a simple blank roster with student name and emergency contact. A check-in, staff students who need special assistance, include a name, location, and person assigned. So student emergency release form. So in case of an event, there's an active shooting and we're releasing students, maybe a form that states that we have released the student to the caregiver. Okay, so yeah, take a look at these. And again, this template here is also in your course shell, so you could always access that. But that is it for this week. A lot of information. Definitely, this is where we hit the ground running. So please start planning accordingly, and make sure that you are staying on top of your work, okay? All right, lastly, if there's any issues with getting a hold of a group member, a student, one of your peers is not responding, or there's any issues within the group, please address those directly to me, so I could take a look at that, okay? All right, well, have a great week. And I will record our week 3 session next week. Have a good day.